Carl Shergan, Quest for Vape. Today I'm going to review the Theorem Atomizer by Wismec Jaybodesigns in collaboration with Matt from suckmymod. Very nicely done. It took me a while to get to know this atomizer. It's a flavor chasing atomizer all the way. So this is a rebuildable tank atomizer with a deck that you can drip down into. So we'll call it an RDTA for lack of what else to call it. You know, there's my build, single coil, 5-wrap Clapton. That was the way I found I liked to vape it the best. I did a dual coil. It handled it. I don't like the heat on this tank from 2 coils. I also didn't like the notch coil very much in this tank. It's a fascinating concept. It's just too wide a diameter, and the amount of cotton you have to use, the thickness of the cotton to fill that coil, I felt choked out the flavor trying to wick down in here. It's not for the length of the cotton, it's for the thickness of the cotton to fill out that 5mm diameter notch coil. Choked the flavor. So my wicks are performing just fine. They're loose in there, they're fluffy, they're wispy, the flavor is great. It's pulling that juice right up from this reservoir below. I don't want to call this a tank because it sort of is and it sort of isn't. I'm going to go over the pros and cons of this atomizer. I want to show you a quick look at it, broken down, how the parts disassemble, how they put back together, a build on it, wicking it, a couple of different builds. I'll show you the notch coil, I'll show you the dual coil I did and the single coil, and then I'm going to come back up, vape on it, talk about it, and give you my thoughts and impressions. The spoiler is, overall I like it, and it's certainly an affordable atomizer to buy, so I hope you enjoy this up-close look at the Theorem atomizer from Jaybodesigns and Matt from suckmymod. Manufactured by Wismec. Let's take a close-up look at the Theorem RDTA from Wismec. Theorem Atomizer. This is designed by Jaybodesigns and also in collaboration with Matt from suckmymod. So this shows you what comes with the atomizer. Here's a diagram of the parts. Now let's get into it. This is the atomizer itself. Very classy, elegant, Art Deco looking. And that is the notch coil. We'll take a close-up look at that. Here's our 510 connection. Don't use this on mech mods. Don't use this on hybrid mech mods. It's meant for regulated devices so that you can tweak the vape and the power that you want. Designed by Jaybo. Inspired by SMM, suckmymod. Let me show you what else comes in this package. Here's an extra notch coil already pre-wicked. This tank came with a notch coil already installed and this wick already installed, which I feel is a little too thick, a little too long. We're going to have a discussion about that, the diameter of the notch coil and how it takes a lot of cotton to fill that coil, but that also leads to a lot of cotton for wicking. Maybe a little too much. We're going to have to talk about that. What else comes in this package is an extra glass sleeve, which is a good thing. And then when you're done cracking this glass sleeve and this extra glass sleeve, and there is also a stainless steel reinforced glass sleeve, which I think is a fantastic idea. And I'll show you why, because I have already chipped my first glass sleeve. Now, I'll tell you why that's user error, but it might be a common user error. This tank is put together very tight, very snugly with these 2 O-rings down on the bottom. When you're pulling this sleeve off, it takes quite a bit of pressure to pull this off. And then if you don't have that lined up exactly straight up and down, if you hit this metal deck over here at a little bit of an angle, that's what happened here, and the glass chipped. So I'm giving you a caution. Go work these O-rings very slowly, and I'll show you how to do that. Don't be casual when you're taking this sleeve off. It will chip, it will crack. But if you do it right, you'll have no problems. Now we've talked about it. Okay, let's look at what else comes in this kit. You do get your extra O-rings, extra post screws. You have an additional airflow control ring. If you want to go dual coil, there's a ring on here that I'll show you in a moment when we break this down. The airflow control ring that it comes with is for single coil, and then if you want to go dual coil, you'll swap it out with this one. And we also have a little user manual, which gives you a little bit of a breakdown, how to fill the tank, how to adjust the airflow ring. Let me show you the big picture and then bring it up close for some detail. You can pause here and read that. That's how you do your airflow control. That's how you fill it. So there's a little bit of instruction that comes with this tank. Here's all the parts broken down for you. This also shows you the notch coil and the steel tube. Okay. Very nice information. This is showing you how to build and wick on your Theorem Atomizer. Nothing else comes in the box. That's it. And then we're going to talk about this notch coil. Okay, so let's open the tank up, break it down, and show you the parts to it. So here's the tank. You got that nice Jaybo design on that insert there. That's for single coil mode. That blocks off the volume area on the other side of this deck so that you condense all your vapor on this side. If you want to go dual coil mode, you'll pull that out. Starting at the top, this drip tip, it's in there very snugly, extremely snug. Juice up these O-rings, otherwise this is going to happen. Like, that's because it's very snug. So you juice the O-rings. Here's your airflow control. This is the single coil mode. This is the airflow control for dual coil mode. And it's going to fit on there just like this. Actually, it goes this way. We have our one side blocked off. We're going to use this airflow control ring. There's no airflow coming from that side anyway. Here's our airflow, and we're going to line that up with this slot. That's how you adjust your airflow. Tighten this back down on there. So you just have to eyeball it and look in there and make sure you've got that airflow slot lined up right above the coil. It's not that difficult. This is the standard 510 size, so if you have a different drip tip you'd prefer to use, go ahead and use that. And again, lube these O-rings up with some juice. Will make them go on there a whole lot easier. Give them a twist. That'll help get it on easier. It's very snug. I'm just gonna warn you ahead of time. Okay. So how to pull this deck apart? I highly recommend you screw this into a mod. You can pull the top cap off. That easy. Here's the chip on my glass sleeve. Okay, so this deck has, this is like some type of very, very tough plastic. Maybe that's Peak, maybe it's Delrin, I don't know. There's a little O-ring on here to seal the deck. So and that's your fill hole. So you could fill down in there. Once you're filled, you just put this on there, fits into that slot, and you're good to vape again. So let's go back to removing that. This is where I'm going to remind you, be very gentle with this. It's a snug fit. I really don't like a glass sleeve, which is fragile. Well, there's no other way to do it. You just go slowly and apply pull in that direction. Don't pull at an angle. So I think when I was pulling this off, I might have yanked it that way. Did one of those and the edge of the glass sleeve caught the deck and just cracked, just chipped it. I could still use it, but just little. There you go. You see. So be careful with that. Be careful with that. Okay, here we have our notch coil. I believe this is 316L stainless. All right, here we have our negative posts, our positive in the center here. You've got some good versatility for some creative coil building of your own. I'm still going to use this notch coil. I'm still getting to know it. This thing looks beefy and robust, but it's actually kind of fragile. It's collapsible. You can bend that. You can screw this up if you mess with this too much. This is how it works. Your cotton will wick down through here and through here. And if you go dual coil mode, I would imagine your cotton's going to wick down through this hole here on this side. I haven't gone dual coil mode yet. I'm still getting to know this notch coil. I can tell you this much. That amount of cotton is way too much. That's a hell of a lot of cotton. When I did it that way, and it comes pre-installed with cotton, it extends all the way down to the deck, and then it curls over and around. And like, I put juice in there, and the juice couldn't even get past the cotton to this. This part was all like an open gap in here of air. It's a long distance to travel from down here below in this tank all the way up to this cotton. The heat from the coil will pull juice up, but I felt like the flavor was muted. So I went back and loosened up the cotton, and then it wicked just fine. I'm going to say this. You've got to fluff out your cotton. This is way too thick and dense of cotton to wick with good flavor. That's my opinion, but I feel like, you know, Matt and Jaybo are here in the United States and designed this, and then the folks who put this thing together over in China may not vape, so they may not understand. It looks loose, but when that cotton gets wet with juice, when it gets heated up from the coil, it's going to get more dense. I'm going to show you how I like to wick this. And by the way, I'm told do not try and pulse this. This coil is not meant to be like glowed like you would Canthol wire. If you feel like you need to clean it, go ahead and rinse it off. If you feel like you need to pulse it and clean it, okay, fine, but don't make it glow. Don't do pyrotechnic displays. Maybe pulse it a little bit to clean it, and then just let the water in the rinsing part do the cleaning. Let me show you. So let me show you how I will clean these coils. I've had this Atomizer for about a week and a half. It's not like I have a ton of experience with it. I'm going to pulse this notch coil at 20 watts just to get it heated. I'm not trying to make the Rome glow. That heated up very quickly at 20 watts. And then I'm just going to, that's it. You could rinse it under a faucet, is even better. But watch, now that it's wet, so 20 watts was too much. This is stainless steel. It ohms out pretty low. It's a 0.24 resistance. It's only got less than 2 volts going through it. It's going to heat up pretty quick. What's the heat doing? It's cleaning off the surface of the metal, burning off the junk. It's atomizing the residual flavoring left on this coil from the juice I've been using. 14 watts. There it goes. Just the barest, when I see that metal is barely glowing, it's doing its job. You could see already the metal's cleaner. Can you see that? And it looks like the negative side of the coil is heating up faster. There it is. I mean, it just glowed. That's all I feel I need to pulse that coil. Now the coil is clean. That's as good as it gets. Let's show you how I wick this. This is minimal wicking. I'm telling you, this wick has to be long and loose, wispy. You stick some thick, dense cotton in there, you're not gonna get the flavor that this thing is capable of. And by the way, how much wattage did it take to make that coil glow? Less than 20 watts. It's a fast ramp up. Think of this notch coil as more like competition wire, and then you're on the right track. It's low resistance, fast ramp up, doesn't take a lot of power. You're not going to be vaping that coil at 200 watts. It's not a 100-watt coil. Not in my experience. All right, so we see how wispy and thin this is. I'm just going to roll it up just to make those fibers sort of behave, going in the direction I want. Not twisting this thing, I'm not squeezing it, I'm not pinching it. I don't care if there's a little fuzzy in there. Not messing with this at all. Don't stretch it. Just leave it loose like that. How does a straw work? Well, if you crimp a straw, you're not getting any liquid through it. So this is a straw right now. Yeah, that little wisp is what I'm going to grab, that little wispy tail. That's how I'm pulling this through. Those wispy fibers, they will absorb juice. They will grab that juice and pull it right up to the heat. Okay, I don't want to go all the way to the deck. Almost all the way down there. There we go. So just to make sure I have it measured right, I want a little bit of space. There we go. You see that? There's a little bit of space underneath that cotton. There we go. That's the way I'm wicking this thing. Nice and loose and wispy. I'm intentionally not going to juice this before I put the tank back on. I want you to see it wick. So there we go. And today I'm going to be vaping with some Hyper Plume Turbo. This is a strawberry ice cream. I'm lubing up that O-ring. See how fluffy and light and wispy this cotton is? There we go. Make sure it's in that crescent. If you got thick cotton, you put that tank on, you're going to choke out the cotton. Then it's going to mute your flavor. The second there's pressure on that cotton, the flavor gets muted. Okay, so let's go ahead and put this on here. And then we'll inspect. Two things. Very gently, just teasing, I'm just snagging a little bit of this cotton. See, this guy is pinched. Now he's not. Okay. I'm clear. I don't have any fibers blocking this tank. Good. snug down. So let's go ahead. Now we can watch it wick. That's even a little thick and bushy down there. And it wouldn't have been a bad idea for me to thin that out also, but you're going to have to play around with this thing till you figure out how you like to wick this thing and how you like to vape on it. I can't tell you that. I could just show you what I did. And I'll cheat a little bit from above. I still feel like that's too much cotton. I think it's a 5mm diameter coil, that notch coil. 5mm coil. That's a big coil. It takes a lot of cotton to fill that up. I'm going to pulse it at 14.5 watts. You can see a little vapor production. What that's doing is it's also pulling heat through the cotton. Okay. And you put the top cap on. This little peg goes into that little hole, the same hole I used to fill the juice. There we go. Okay. Now we're all sealed up. Let's go up top, vape on this. One mistake I think people make initially is they think they're going to crank a lot of power through that coil because it's a big diameter coil. It's not a high power coil. Let me go to 25 watts. The flavor's delicious. All right, let's put a little more heat into this thing. 25 watts might just not be pulling right. Let's go to 35 watts. In my experience, I was vaping this between 40-45 watts, and it was good. When I tried to go higher, I would get a dry hit unexpectedly once in a while. It's nice. Okay, a little more heat, a little better flavor. It's not the best flavor I've ever had. I'm going to go to 40 watts. 40 watts. That's good. And that started to run dry. You can see that cotton is dry. It's just a mountain of cotton in there. I think it just has too far to travel. Now I'm also using a 70-30. This is a max VG juice. This is like a 70-30 VG PG juice. So I don't buy juice that's 50-50 or 60-40. I don't vape like that. I don't really like the high PG juices. It's too much of a throat hit for me personally. I don't care for the PG. Tilting it this way definitely helps. It's a shorter distance now for the juice to travel. So you gotta do a little Jenny style help holding the juice that way. It's awkward. But the flavor's improved. So now I'm going to do what I've wanted to do with this thing for the last week, is put a different coil build in. did a dual coil build. It wasn't hard to build. It's a very easy build deck. That part was simple. And I had to take that stopper piece out, the one with the little Jaybodesigns logo on it, with these two little screws. Had to take that out of the top cap. Wicking on the other coil is down through this little tiny hole, that hole that you use to fill. Now you don't have that fill hole because you wicked through there, so that's awkward. So far so good though. The flavor is actually a little bit better. I mean, that's an awesome vape. Seems to be wicking from below very nicely. You could see those wicks in there are just, they don't even fill that hole. I'm talking about the two half crescents against the glass. I'm not talking about this fill hole wick. Those are wicking just fine. So, I think I would rather go single coil on this. The dual coil, I saw the option there, but it's weird because first of all, they don't wick the same way. Again, on this side, they're sharing. Both wicks have to come down and go through that hole. It's a choke point. I don't like that. As far as flavor goes, flavor's just great. Just fine. My main reason, I wanted to see how this vaped without this chunk in there. And actually it does vape pretty good. Maybe it is wicking. These coils, the cotton around the coils just looks moist and saturated. I can't dry hit it. The whole tank's starting to get hot. It's pretty fucking hot. I'm trying to chain vape this dry. What do you know? I couldn't. I definitely like the flavor on these coils a lot better than the Notch. Hey, a buddy of mine did a video. He was talking about how this drip tip is not suitable for the brothers. I don't think it's even suitable for me. Yeah, it is kind of an awkward drip tip. I'll give you that, Don. Absolutely give you that. It's gonna have to put a different drip tip on there. I'm not liking that one. I got my avocado. Whoa, that's hot. That's hot. Should I be worried about cracking glass with heat? I don't know. So much better. That's actually pretty fucking awesome. What a nice flavorful vape. I'll tell you what, that one wicking hole I was worried about, it's wicking like a champ. Wow. Now, again, I want to rebuild this, but I have to get rid of all the juice in the tank. So, what is the capacity of this? It doesn't say. Maybe it says it in the instruction manual. Doesn't say. All right. That was a pretty long hit. And the cotton is still saturated. Wicking perfectly fine. No, it's wicking fine. Believe it or not, that small amount of cotton, and you saw that I plumped it up, I stretched it out, I got the fibers like very well parted, and then I rolled it back up, left it very loose. It's wicking like a champ. I can't complain. Let's go to 70 watts. Tank's going to get hot. This is where I could see needing that stainless steel reinforced sleeve. If you're going to go dual coil, you got to use that. Almost like the stainless steel needs to absorb that heat and then disperse that heat away from the tank. Because the tank's getting really, really fucking hot. You know, I don't know if they designed the tank specifically for that. I'm sure they didn't, but it's an option, and it's one I wanted to explore. And why not? I want to see what's the shape of that cotton. You tell me. It looks very well saturated all the way up. It's not dried out at the top at all. The heat's just pulling that juice up. Because it can, because the cotton's loose enough. Great flavor. Really nice. This other drip tip I'm using, which I grabbed from the avocado, is working great. This drip tip here, it's thin, it's short. My lips are practically on the top cap, which was getting hot, and then and that drip tip was getting hot because it's stainless steel and glass. That's a lot of heavy, intense vaping that I've just done. Here we can see this wick on one. See, there's juices like dammed up between those two wicks on this side, and here it's running dry. Like that side of the tank is dry. And my vape is starting to get a little more arid. A drier vape. Go back down to 60 watts. This tank's very hot. But the airflow, all right, I'm going to give credit where credit is due. The airflow is done well for dual coil. We got this one lonely wick on this side. He's like struggling to find juice. We got juice dammed up between these two cotton wicks, and that juice is boogieing right up there. No problem on flavor. I'm all nicked out. That was an intense vaping session. And it held up. It held up. I liked it better than the notch coil, that's for sure. So I think my next build on this is going to be putting this wedge back in there. Yeah. I'm going to go single coil, pull one of these coils out. But I gotta say, it vaped through a tank. However much juice fits in the bottom here, less the cotton that I have all bulged up in there. And you can see how much the heat and the juice expands that cotton, even those little wisps. That's dry. It doesn't look dry, but that's dry. That's got like 2 more hits in it, and then Burnt Cotton City. Those coils are still going. All right, let's take a look. Let's take a look. The wicks are in good condition. There's a little bit of dark, you know, like brown That's normal. That happens to the wicks. It kept up. You little son of a bitch, you kept up. I'm still very leery of this glass. Again, when you got to squeeze a sleeve of glass just to pull this thing off, that bothers me. Especially I have a chip in it. It's already like weakened. I feel like my squeezing on the glass is not healthy for the glass itself. Real leery of that. There you go. And you could see that the pressure that I had to put on it to jerk that off. If you're at the wrong angle, no good. Okay, here's what we're going to do. Let me come back. Okay, so I'm back in down camera angle mode. This is the condition of the cotton. It wicked like a champ through this little hole. I didn't use a lot of cotton. You could see it's relatively loose. This one leg from one of those wicks trailed all the way to the bottom there. And the juice was damming up between this wick and this wick in this chamber. Kind of dammed it up. And this wick over here, look, see, there's room. I mean, this thing it's just sitting there. It's not choked at all. And he was sitting there kind of lonely toward the end, like he was out of this game. There was still a lot of juice dammed up between these two, which was wicking both of them fairly well. I only took it up to 70 watts, but that was fine. So if you're curious and you absolutely have to go check out and explore this thing in dual coil mode, there it is. That's how you do it. My curiosity is satisfied, and I'm going back to single coil mode. I'll put my improvised drip tip back on. Here we go. We're back to single coil mode with, you see that airflow slot lines up with that airflow slot, and we're good. Now all I have to do is remove this coil. Pulled out that coil. There's that wick. Just to show you again, you know, when I was going in, I felt like I was packing all this cotton, but all it took was that little tail trailing down in there. That little tail was enough. And I made sure up on top it wasn't packed in there so tight to choke it. This coil actually held up very, very well. I'm impressed. Well, that was cool. I didn't have to rebuild the whole thing. I just pulled that other coil. So here we go. I've got this nice lonely wick and this nice lonely wick. You see, when they swelled up with heat and with juice, they now block this area. I want to pull this up a little. I'm going to cut these a little bit short, just a wee smidgen shorter, because I need juice to be able to flow. I'm cutting this side. It's not going to extend all the way down to the base of the deck. There's room. See, there's room? Well, this will be the final test. So now I'm back to single coil mode, and that is now your fill hole, and also that gets plugged up by this nubbin here. And we're ready to vape again. We're back up top. I went back to single coil mode. Single coil for the win. Much better than dual coil. Dual coil was a little too intense for this atomizer. Just it's not your high wattage, big build dual coil. Even though the option's there, so that's more like, hey, if you want to vape that way, knock yourself out. It's there for you to explore, but you're missing the best part of this tank, this atomizer. That flavor's delicious. That's awesome, single coil. So you have all the airflow you could possibly want and need. Delicious flavor. You know what? These tanks, these RTAs, these RDAs, the ones with glass sleeves, it gives you a purer, cleaner flavor, I feel. Let me show you. So now that the cotton's not all choked up in there like it was with the notch coil, it's wicking perfectly. The flavor is excellent. So my conclusions are, it's not the distance that the juice has to travel up to the coil, even though that is pretty long of a distance. It'll be just fine if your cotton is nice and wispy and loose. That notch coil, now here's the challenge with this. It's so damn wide. You can't leave a coil like not filled up. The cotton's got to like bulge out and at least hit all the inner surface of the coil. So that's a problem. And this is wider than, it's probably 5 millimeters, because the 4 millimeter post in here, it's loose on that. All right. So the problem that represents is, to fill up that coil with cotton, your cotton wicks are now so wide, it wasn't the length of the cotton, it was their thickness. And the way this comes, with all that cotton in there, once that swells with juice and heat, it's pushing out on the walls of that coil, compressing the cotton fibers, pulling moisture. You may not dry hit, but it's restricting the flavor. So single coil mode, 2.5 millimeter diameter coil. I feel like I could put a 3 millimeter, maybe even a 3.5 in there. That's a delicious, yummy vape at 40 watts. Now, yeah, that's going to leak. This is not a sealed tank system. This is an RDA with a reservoir underneath for backup. That's the way you got to think about it. Don't treat this like a tank. Don't lay this on its side. It'll leak out on you. Know that about your vape, know that about your atomizer, and you don't have any problems. If you tend to vape 50-50 or 60-40 VG-PG mixed juice that's thinner, that might wick easier, maybe you can get away with that notch coil. Maybe you're just fine. I like it. I like the vape on it. I like the experience of it. I like the concept of it. I like the design of it. There you go. Those are my pros and cons. So let's summarize. Let's go positives first. Innovative, creative design, well done, pretty cool, bringing back the Genesis style reservoir below with coils above. I love that. I love the look of it. I love the form factor of it. I love the flavor and the vaping experience on it. I love the fact that you have some creative options you can explore with it. You can go dual coil, build your own coils. The deck is a dream to work on. It's a pleasure. Wick's great. Flavor's fantastic. Those are the pros. Good value, reasonably priced. Wismec, again, coming out with affordable vaping products that are quality and give you a wonderful vape experience. Nicely done, Jaybo. Nicely done, Matt. Nicely done, Wismec. Cons. Easy. I don't like this drip tip. It's too short, stubby, chubby, gets too hot. It's awkward. And it's got your lips right up on this top cap of the deck. So when you do tend to vape and this heats up, your lips are going to get hot. I put my own drip tip on there, which was 5'10" size, same height, just wider, and that insulated better, and my lips aren't hitting the top cap. So that's con number one. Con number two, that notch coil. That notch coil, not in this, or figure out some way to get big fluffy wicks that fill up 5 millimeter size diameter on a coil, but yet don't choke out when they pass through these crescents, these wicking channels. That's a challenge. So, great atomizer. I don't like the notch coil on it. I'm going to save this coil and use this on some other things. I'm not saying I don't like the notch coil. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying I don't like it in combination on this thing the way it came. Like this, no-go. That's the no-go. I don't know. Test that out for yourselves and see what I'm talking about, if I'm making it up or not. That's a non-starter right there. For me, too much cotton, wrong combination of length and choke point and diameter and big bushy cotton. Okay, enough said on that. Dual coil was okay. Single coil was the win here. Another con. Look, it's not a deal breaker. It's just something. Reviewing this, I have to tell you, the glass sleeve on this creeps me out. It creeps me out having to squeeze that glass sleeve so tightly to pull this off. The tension and the pressure I have to put on this thing to pull it off. At a slight angle, it's going to chip, possibly crack your glass sleeve. And I'm not so much worried because you get an extra 2 glass sleeves. I'm more concerned with you're pinching this thing so tightly to get it off, and then it cracks. That's never good. Like, okay, try and unscrew a light bulb that's really wedged and stuck in the socket. People get really badly cut when they do that because you got to grab that thing and grip it so tightly and then wrench and torque. Then you got shattered glass. That's a recipe for a bad, nasty, nasty slice. So in this case, I got my bare flesh on there while I'm squeezing that. And when and if, and I'm worried if that glass gives way, then the next thing that happens, that glass is just slicing into my fingers. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. I think that's dangerous. Another con, if I want to get in here and fiddle with this, I can't because there's nowhere for that juice to go. What am I going to do? Drain that out into something, a bucket, and then reuse that juice? Life's too short. I'm not going to reuse juice. So if I want to get in there and do something, rebuild, rewick, anything, that juice in there is wasted. You know, is it a deal breaker? No, it's something you got to know. And occasionally you may lose a tank of juice. Again, it's not a deal breaker, but it's something you ought to know. In review, it's something I got to talk about. Kudos, the spare parts, very nice. I don't believe this came with an Allen. So that's it. That's my wrap-up summary of all the pros and cons of this theorem. I hope you found this video educational and helpful. I hope you found it compelling and intriguing enough to where you say, oh, I like to tinker. I like new things. I like to fiddle with ingenuity. I think I want to get that theorem and play around with it.